All right, guys, welcome into this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Farzin Vasugian here with you on a Monday, fairly busy Monday to start off. The Chiefs play on Thursday against the Chicago Bears, the last preseason game. We'll touch on that game more tomorrow on tomorrow's podcast. Worth noting, Andy Reid just at his press conference mentioned that the starters will not play in Thursday's game. Probably a fairly obvious one there, but we'll do more Chiefs talk on tomorrow's podcast, previewing the last preseason game. And then it's off to September the 5th against the Baltimore Ravens. Excited for that. But in the meantime, we have another special guest. Very excited to have on another former Chiefs quarterback. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs from 2004 to 2008 and led the Chiefs in 2006 during kind of an up and down year. Filled in for Trent Green, did very well, was also featured on Hard Knocks. Definitely want to touch on that. Also spent a lot of time in the NFL with guys like Dan Marino, Tom Brady, and so much more. Wanted to talk to this gentleman right here. Here he is, Damon Huard on the podcast. Damon, thank you so much for taking time to be on the Chiefs Zone podcast. How are you, sir?
I am great, Farzin. Thanks for having me today, pal.
Yeah, I got to say, there's a full circle moment for me because I started this podcast in 2007, back when, the word podcast didn't really exist. You had to say internet radio show.
Right.
That's what you called it then. And the first year I did the podcast, you were the first starting quarterback. So that's pretty cool. It's awesome having you on. I appreciate you being here. We haven't heard from you in a long time. Where have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, gosh, I've been so busy. I'm back home in the great Northwest where I grew up, went to the University of Washington, but back home raising a family. I'm an empty nester now. Shoot, 3 kids. Not really kids anymore, 24, 22, and 20. Obviously, I've stayed close to the game of football. I work at the University of Washington. I've had a number of different roles over the years. I have a very fancy title, but really I'm more or less an ambassador to the program, do a lot of public speaking on behalf of our athletic director, our football coach, and different deals. And then also own a winery that we've been at it for over a decade, since 2012. So that's been a lot of fun, keeping me busy. But life's good. Very blessed. Back home, doing a couple things I love, football and wine, and my alma mater. So life is good, man.
Yeah, you mentioned the winery, Passing Time Winery. If you guys want any information on that, passingtime.com. And I have the picture up here. Of course, there's a very familiar face on that screen, Dan Marino, his wife, your wife as well, and some other people part of Passing Time Winery. Talk about how this all started. What got you into this? What made you want to get into this type of industry?
Yeah, well, when I was playing, I was kind of a young, dumb rookie down there with the Dolphins in the late 90s, and Danny actually got me into wine. He had a buddy who was a distributor down there from Southern at the time that actually had turned him on to Washington wines. So he had some wines like, Damon, you ever had some of these wines from your hometown? And I'm like, no, couldn't really afford those in college, but damn, those are good. Pour me some more. So we kind of always talked about one day when I was done and retired, we dive into this thing. And I spent a lot of time in the off season coming home, meeting a lot of players in the Washington wine industry. And then one real kind of Chiefs related nugget to it is, you remember my coach Vermeil down there for 3 years was a big wine guy, and today he's actually in the business as well.
Yeah, he is.
My time there in Kansas City, there 5 years, the first 3 seasons, with first 2 seasons with Coach Vermeil in 04 and 05. He'd send me a bottle of good wine at the dinner table the night before a game. Times were different back then. And he, continued my passion for wine during that time. And we shared a lot of stories and have continued that relationship and trade some wines to this day. So he's been awesome. But so back home, doing this little project, it's actually turned into something pretty big. We, not to toot my own horn, but if I don't, nobody will. We just had our first 100-point wine last year with our 2021 Horse 7 Hills Cab. So, we sell about 80% direct to consumer, have an awesome wine club. The rest of it we sell, mostly here in Washington and South Florida. So we have an awesome little business going that has really been a lot of fun in my next chapter of life.
Very cool. When did Passing Wine start?
It started in 2012 was our first vintage. So
Okay.
Like I said, we've been at it for over a decade now and kind of started out just making 400 cases. Today we're over 2,500. And like I said, we've been fortunate enough to move it every single year and have a nice little following. And it's been a lot of fun.
Now, in terms of like being able to access the wine, do you have to be in Washington? Do you have to be in the United States? Who can get it?
Yeah, anybody can get it. We have a number of club members there in Kansas City and around Missouri and Kansas. So as we made a lot of dear friends in my 5 years there. So yeah, we ship the wine right to you. Which is great now with a lot of these laws loosening up over time. In the old days, there's still a few counties, I think in Alabama and Oklahoma, that we can't ship to, but for most of America, we can ship our wine anywhere. So yeah, check us out if you'd like a little bit of wine sent your way here, especially for the upcoming season. Be a lot of fun.
Okay, passingwine.com, correct?
Passing time.
Passing time.
We're passing time.
Okay.
There you go.
Like
Passingtime.com.
Let's stick with that subject of Dan Marino, because obviously, what a career for him. And you got to spend some time around him. Obviously, spend a lot of time around him now as well. What was it like being around Dan Marino in Miami, other than the winery he introduced you to?
It was the best. I was so fortunate to, the first team I signed with the Bengals out of college, got cut in 96, was out of football. The Dolphins called that spring. Thought more or less I was just a camp arm or something, but I went in there and I fooled them and I fooled the rest of the league for 12 years. So that was awesome. But what an experience playing with Dan. Dan, I kind of joke about this, but I had his posters on my wall when I was, a kid growing up.
Wow.
And, he was, 12 years older than me. So I get there. And, I think the best thing about it is I wasn't some first round draft pick. I wasn't any sort of threat. No one was really a threat to Dan Marino, but I was just a free agent kid, and he really took me under his wing and not only taught me how to be a pro and survive in this league, but taught me, how to drink fine wine. And I was just so fortunate as a young quarterback to go play alongside Dan Marino. And being 3,000 miles away from home, him and his wife, Claire, and their family were so good to us. We were just kids, and they'd have us over for the holidays. And we just built an awesome friendship through it all. So, yeah, I mean, I think my brother Brock, was drafted to the Seahawks and out the gate, some pretty good players, John Kitna, I think Trent Dilfer, but they weren't Dan Marino. I was the lucky one to learn how to be a pro.
By the way, I'm really glad you mentioned your brother, because I completely forgot to bring this up. He's one of the commentators in the Madden game, right?
Brock is big time. He is the media darling in the family, has made an awesome career for himself, doing college football all over the country, first for ESPN, now for Fox. Yeah, he threw his name in the hat and did the work kind of behind the scenes. And they chose him. I mean, he's really good. I'm really proud of him kind of finding that second chapter in his life as well. He works very hard at it. Being the brother, busting his chops, you look closely at Brock. He's done everything to be Kirk Herbstreit 2.0. Kind of combs his hair like him, the mannerisms. He can do the stop, pause, talk thing. So he's definitely emulated the best in the business, and now he's become one of them. But I am proud of him.
We were talking earlier. I was mentioning I had Brody on the podcast last week, and I knew we were going to talk shortly after. So I went and watched the Hard Knocks series, and obviously, you're a big part of that because you're competing for the starting quarterback job. So I heard your voice a lot on that, and I'm playing Madden. I'm like, is that Damon? And family members generally sound similar. So I went did some research. I'm like, no, that's his brother. So that's pretty cool. That's
yeah,
really cool.
Oh, it is cool. All of us, my youngest brother, Luke, there's 3 boys in the house. Dad was a high school football coach. We just grew up around the game and Friday Night Lights. It was our life. And Luke is the quarterback coach at USC under Lincoln Riley. So he's a longtime college football coach. He's been a lot of places, but last 2 stops, Texas A&M with Jimbo, and now at USC with Lincoln. He's really made a name for himself climbing that ladder, coaching some great teams, and really proud of him too.
Very cool. Very cool. Going back to your NFL career, I did want to ask about the NFL Europe process. I don't know if I've talked to a player that played in NFL Europe, because you were still, I guess, I don't know what's the right way to say it. I guess you were still under contract with the Miami Dolphins, but in the offseason, you took part in NFL Europe. What was that process like? How did you get to play in NFL Europe? Was that an invite process? Did you put your name in the hat? How did that work?
How it worked was, the NFL had big ownership in NFL Europe at the time. It was actually called the World League, and then it became NFL Europe. And so teams would allocate some of their younger players and ship us over and send us over there. Rookies, free agents, young guys maybe didn't play. So after my rookie year, in Miami. I held the clipboard all year. They sent me out there that spring, and it really was a great experience for a young quarterback to get some, real action under the lights, good competition, kind of equated to, those guys playing, maybe midway through the third quarter, fourth quarter preseason football games. And there were a lot of us quarterbacks over there. I played against Kurt Warner, went 2-0 against him, by the way. He was for the
Oh,
Amsterdam.
there you go.
I was with the Frankfurt Galaxy that year. Who else was over there? A lot of guys, John Kitna, Brad Johnson, Jake Delhomme. It's crazy how many of us quarterbacks went over, played in that league, had some success, and it kind of led to long playing careers in the NFL, some Super Bowl champions, Hall of Famers, and Kurt. But yeah, it was a great experience for a young guy to go see the world, play the game you love. And it was a cool time. I was in Frankfurt for the Galaxy. My nickname was Damon the Demon. And I remember the fans would get more excited about like the kickoff than anything else, right? Anything kicking a ball over there. But we had 40,000 fans at these games, and it was a lot of fun, some cool memories, and they were hammered. You think they party in that Chiefs parking lot? These guys, the bottles of beer out of glass boots, and these people were crazy. It was just a big party and a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs just played in Germany last year, and I think the expectation is the Hunt family wants to go back and do it again. And I heard a lot of great stories about the fan base over there and just how much they're into it. So yeah, they're definitely trying to expand and do more regular season games overseas.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing. It's a cool experience for the players too. We did a preseason game in Mexico City one year when I was with the Dolphins. Just experiences, things you probably wouldn't normally do, and kind of cool to build the game globally. Obviously, the NFL trying to do so. It's a good thing.
You eventually made your way to New England. Got to play with a guy named Tom Brady. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him. Belichick, of course, your coach there. Talk about that dynasty, because, we're going through that right now in Kansas City, and there's all that comparison between Mahomes, Brady, the Chiefs dynasty, the Patriots dynasty. Yeah. Why was the Patriots dynasty so successful for 18 years? Well, what made it work?
Well, obviously that combination of head coach and quarterback, which you guys now have with, Andy and Patrick, and it starts there. It really, truly does. And then it starts with ownership. And you could argue that Robert Kraft and the Hunt family are the two best owners in all of pro football. And then, just the community. I was so fortunate to play in a couple communities that just love and embrace football. And then timing, right? Like, it's all timing and good fortune and staying healthy and all these things. But, when I first got to New England coming from Miami, there was no way I would have been able to sit and tell you like, oh, this is going to be a dynasty. These guys got it figured out. And, Bill's first year there, I think they were 5-11. And, they signed Drew Bledsoe, the first $100 million quarterback that offseason. And, I was signed to be his backup. So, the story obviously changed in a hurry with one big hit on a September Sunday afternoon in Foxborough. But it's a story that seems to probably be the most told in NFL history, that Patriot run. And I think in time, you're going to find this Kansas City one will be told forever, too, if these guys are able to three-peat. So, and maybe even already with all the success that the Chiefs have had here in the last 5, 6, 7 years. So, but anyway, it was certainly fun to be a part of that, watch it from the ground up. I was a part of the first 2 Super Bowls, kind of held that clipboard, but it's NFL history. And, we can, certainly Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, when you have that many trophies,
Yeah.
So Patrick right on his tail as a young guy projecting to get there, but easier said than done. But right now the Chiefs obviously have that combination and great ownership. And so, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I think I was just mentioning Belichick, and I'm just coming across a headline. I haven't had a chance to listen or read to it because it just happened. But Belichick was on Pat McAfee's show when I guess he said that it would be pretty hard. Now, I don't know if he's saying that it can't happen, but there are some people in the media saying that they don't think it's going to happen to three-peat, that is, because it's never happened before.
Right.
I know you were not there when the Patriots had a chance to three-peat, but can you just maybe describe, like, why is it so difficult to go 3 in a row in the NFL?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson, my coach at in Miami was with the Cowboys and had all that success. And I think what happens with that success, right, is everybody wants a little bit more. Players want more money. Are you able to keep kind of those core guys, that are the foundation of your football team happy and under salary? With today's salary cap, it is way up there.
Yeah.
And maybe you can to some degree, but again, you're going to lose pieces like Tyreek Hill, right? And different things along the way. So the great coach, the great quarterback, if they are that special, they can overcome some of those losses. But whether it's coaches moving on to be head coaches, your best receiver moving on for more money, like how do you keep the core and this thing going as you have to move in different pieces and parts, because that's just the business, the roster every year, coaches, players is always changing. And so and with success, it can change even more as guys want opportunities to, like I said, to be paid more, or coaches want to be head coaches. And so it is tough, and you can see that argument. But if anybody can do it, it's probably Andy and Patrick.
Going back to your time with the Patriots, again, obviously you guys were very successful there, but off the field, I don't know how much time you got to spend around Tom Brady, but do you have a funny story about Tom that maybe has not been out there told by a lot of people?
I mean, so many of the stories have been told, but my favorite one to tell, I think I've told before, maybe it's been out there, but early on, we would do some charity pickup basketball games against local fire departments. And, for a lot of those players, maybe 10 Patriots would show up to do these sorts of things, and we'd get a little extra money and whatnot. And I can remember this one game where I think a bunch of us went and had a couple beers before it was 7:00 tip and whatever. We're going to play against some middle-aged fireman from Walpole, Mass or something, and literally these firefighters are kicking our ass. And Brady pulls us together. What are we doing, guys? We're playing some middle-aged, overweight, firemen. We're not going to lose to these guys. Are you freaking kidding me? And of course, he goes out there and he had this weird bank shot 3-pointer thing. I've never seen anybody kind of from not the corner, but I don't know what, elbow extended 3-pointer, and he would bank them in. And I think he hit 5 bank shots. And as our beers wore off there late in the contest, we did come find a way to win. But it just the dude is just the most psycho competitor of all time. And that's really one of the qualities that make him so special.
Oh, and that's why he's got 7 rings.
Exactly.
You eventually, by the way, did you have a chance to see the roast on Netflix with Brady?
I did. I did. I got about halfway through it. And, dude, I laughed. I laughed my ass off. I mean, it was funny.
I did not
Part
know.
of me, when I turned it off, I'm kind of this kind of went a little too far in some places. So, even when my kids, who you think would call me up and oh my God, it's the funniest thing ever, were Dad, dude, what's up? I didn't think some of that was very funny. So, I don't know. It was good. I doubt Tom ever does anything like that again. Just a hunch.
No, not even. I think there are a lot of people because I guess someone like Travis Kelce, who's a partier and out there, people thought maybe he might do something like that one day, but man, after that, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I hope he got a lot of money for it.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yeah, probably did. But following your time in New England, you do join the Chiefs in 2004. That was, of course, a couple of years left in Dick Vermeil's time as a head coach in the NFL. What was the selling point to join the Chiefs?
Yeah, well, really, I hadn't played much since '99, so you're talking almost 5 years of holding the clipboard, and I had a couple other kind of sniffs. But and honestly, I had a chance to go back to the Patriots, but it wasn't until after I was in Kansas City. That's a whole other story. Like literally, I'm in the hotel across the street from Arrowhead Stadium, about to sign my contract with the Chiefs that next morning. And I was on the phone with the Patriots. I wasn't their first guy they wanted to re-sign in '04. I was a free agent. And then the guy they wanted kind of fell through. And so he kind of came back to me, Bill. But I was like, I'm moving on. The Chiefs really want me. I really felt good about Dick Vermeil and Carl Peterson. The Chiefs were an interesting deal with quarterbacks, if you remember at that time. They really took a lot of pride in that room and having veterans.
Yep.
You think about all the older quarterbacks who came to Kansas City, played, finished their career, did great things, whether it was, Warren Moon, Dave Craig, Steve DeBerg, Joe Montana, so many, Rich Gannon, on and on and on. But like that room, for a few years with Trent Green, Todd Collins, and myself, we were all almost 30-year-old guys. So we were older. We'd all played a little bit in league. We were all kind of had families. It was just their philosophy. They wanted older quarterbacks, veteran guys in that room. And it was really unique and different than especially how they do it today, where it's like, you have your veteran star franchise quarterback, and some of these teams are even like, oh, we'll just go with the rookie. Well, one, you can't hit the quarterback like you used to, right?
Yeah.
These guys, they get hurt. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy, some of these things. But quarterbacks are playing into their 40s now because of these rules. Let's be real. And maybe they eat a little healthier with avocado ice cream and different things. But back then, it was Dick and Carl were about kind of this older veteran QB room. And what a special room that was those 2 years. And our coach, Terry Shea, was just the neatest guy. Who actually still lives there in Kansas City. I keep in touch with one of the great QB gurus of all time. But it just felt right. It felt home. Dick Vermeil, just a great human being, and really a neat strategy with these old quarterbacks in the room at the time.
Well, it got kind of interesting in 2006 when they kept you. They drafted Brody Croyle, and then the first game of the year, and I'll never forget, I was there for that one, where Trent got hurt against the Bengals with that concussion. Pretty scary hit, obviously. You end up going in, and the Chiefs don't end up winning that game. The following week, a low-scoring one. But after that, man, you guys really did a number on the San Francisco 49ers in that game. I'll never forget, all the stuff on offense, defense, and Dante Hall had his punt return touchdown, and he had not had one of those in a while, so that was good to see. What was that 2006 season like for you? Going 5-2 after that 0-2 start to the season, having the second highest passer rating behind Peyton Manning. What was that season like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it truly was a magical season. You hang around long enough in the league, and you're kind of unsure about yourself. You hadn't played really any significant time since the '99 season. I played a couple games in 2000. Like I said, didn't do anything in '04 and '05 with the Chiefs. So, at that point, you're getting older and you're wondering, God, can I still do this? And, had an unbelievable supporting cast when I got that opportunity. I mean, turning around, handing the ball to Larry Johnson, who ran for, I think, 2,000 yards that year. And then, you fake it to him and you pop up and you got Tony Gonzalez, the greatest tight end in NFL history for my money, running down the seam. And, it was a great opportunity to play on a great team. Will Shields, Casey Wigman, these offensive linemen, some of the greatest to ever play. So on a really good team, and we had a really good game plan. And honest to God, like I was just older. And Terry Shea was my quarterback coach. And this guy, there were a lot of people at that time that maybe don't quite believe in you in the building. You're older, when they want to play the young guy, the draft pick. Terry believed in me. And honest to God, I didn't want to let him down. That dude was in the building at like 4:30 a.m. would leave at 11 at night. And man, this guy had this thing called the Winning Edge, about 10 pages of notes he'd give to me every Saturday morning before Sunday kickoff. And we just had everything dialed in. And so from a game plan standpoint, I felt really comfortable out there. I tell everybody, if I'd had to play my first 2 years in Kansas City in that offense, which, I was coming from New England where we had like 60 plays, maybe 4 or 5 run plays. They were check with me's and da-da-da. I came to Kansas City, and I'm not lying. They had 27 different protections and 350 plays like on a call sheet ready to go for game day. And I'm like, man, if I have to play here in 04, like, there's no chance. Like, it was sophisticated. It was, the greatest show on turf. It was a lot of bit of everything, but it was Al Saunders calling the plays at that time. And it was too much for a guy, even who'd been in the league all those years, coming there, trying to learn it overnight. And really, I was a third string guy, so I wouldn't get many reps. But by 06, Mike Solari was the new coordinator. Terry worked with me. We toned it down a little bit. It was still a lot of information, but I felt really comfortable, and I loved that offense. Had a lot of fun, a lot of success that year. And if I'm being candid and being honest, it was a crying shame in 07 that they got rid of Terry. Herm Edwards, wanted his guy in there, and his coach Dick Curl coaching the position. Dick, a good guy, but for me and my money, Terry Shea was my guy, and we had so much success in 06. I thought it was crazy that they got rid of him. So anyway, there's some good stuff for radio or TV or whatever we're doing that I probably really never said, publicly.
Very cool. No, I mean, I still remember that season because, when the starting quarterback goes down, especially that early in the season, you kind of question, what's going on. And I think fans were just so excited to see what you did that year. I know Trent ended up coming back, which I kind of want to touch on in a moment, but I remember he got hurt again in that week 17, essentially a playoff game against Jacksonville, and you came back. Larry had a nice run. You had a nice deep pass to Eddie Kennison. I'm like, oh man, we kind of missed this because Trent had been struggling for a while, and Herm kept getting asked, excuse me, is Damon going to come back? And apparently, I think he might have said even in that playoff game that maybe he'll consider the switch, but he never did. Was it frustrating because you had played so great, and Trent, and we all love Trent. He's still part of the team today during the preseason games. But was it frustrating not getting put back out on the field, considering you were doing really well that year?
Yeah, for sure. But I understood. It wasn't like I was the young rookie. I was 34, whatever years old. That was old back then. 20 years ago in pro football, you're still hanging around in your mid 30s. Had I been like a young, draft pick, I think they probably would have stuck with. But Trent was the captain of our team. Great dude. If I'd have been in that situation, like, God, I sure as hell would have hoped, like, I'd have got my job back. Where like the New England one is like, yeah, Bledsoe was the highest paid guy, and everyone kind of thought it was crazy to play Brady, but he was kind of the young guy, and let's ride the young, So where I was the old guy, I wasn't the future of Chiefs football. I don't think. I think Herm, kept looking for that guy, where it was hoping it was Brody. So it was a bummer. Sure, we all want to play, but Trent is my boy. And, I'd have hoped if the roles were reversed that Herm would have stuck with me. But no doubt about it. I'm not going to sit here as a competitor and say that, that it was great because it sucked. Yeah, sure. I wanted to be out there. I was hot. We were on a run, let's keep it rolling. But, Herm made that decision and I get it.
How tough was that playoff loss against the Colts? Because, the Chiefs had lost to the Colts a couple of years before. And that no punt game. I know you were not on the team back then, but they were like the worst rush defense in the NFL, and people thought Larry was going to have a big game and didn't even come close to that. The offense wasn't really in sync. How frustrating was it just that whole postseason game? Because that was hard to watch as a fan.
Yeah, God, I barely remember the game, to be honest with you. I do remember that, they had those guys coming off the edge, Dwight Freeney, I think. And then Travis Mathat, maybe a couple guys. They were little guys. Yeah, and they just played with leverage, and they were just running around our tackles all day. And it's tough always on the road in playoff games, hostile environment in a dome. And you're right. We couldn't get anything going offensively. It was just one of those ugly games, and I've been a part of those road ugly playoff games, on other teams as well. So, yeah, it was a tough finish to a season. I think that did have some promise at times.
Well, they ended up bringing you back to a new deal, and obviously there's that starting competition job between you and Brody, and it was actually featured on Hard Knocks, and that was a big deal because Hard Knocks was on hiatus. They chose to bring it back that year, and they chose the Chiefs, and kind of a good season because you got a starting quarterback competition, and it was some people had not been familiar with the show before, and now they have not had any cancellations since then. Even the pandemic year when they didn't have preseason games, they still went with it, and now they're doing all kinds of weird things, doing it in the off season, in the regular season. They followed you a lot. They followed your family at times. There have been complaints over the years about the distraction that the cameras cause. I'm curious for you, being a veteran on the team that year, what was the Hard Knocks experience like for you?
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. It's cool now, right? Like I'm older, have some of that footage, to see some of that stuff. Um, yeah, there you go. God darn to be young again. But yeah, my little kids are not little anymore. But yeah, it's neat stuff. When this pops up every once in a while, to have that footage to go back and look at it one day, professionally done. Capturing family moments, but capturing the grind of training camp and you know, remembering River Falls, Wisconsin, bike rides through there and Steve's Pizza and line of Google beers on our day off. Yeah, it's cool to have some of that footage. So, yeah, it wasn't a distraction. I mean, the only weird thing, this would be another good one for TV here is, it was a quarterback battle. And there was one episode, and I don't remember which one, but they're in like the coaches conference room and they're all talking about, Brody and Damon and who should be playing and this, that, and the other starting and and, and I knew like, you know, my quarterback coach, he wanted the young guy. And he said so much in this meeting room on HBO, on TV that I'm watching. And the next morning I'm gonna go back into the building and all right, coach, what's the install today? It was kind of awkward, So look, I ended up being the starting quarterback to start that season. So, maybe I'm taking a little dramatic with it, but like you could probably find this footage that kind of like, did he just say that? You know what I mean? Before like the starter was announced. So anyway, that was a weird little nugget, if I'm being honest.
I had Jason Dunn on, and I asked him before, whether any of the players were trying to watch for the same exact reason you said. Till it's like, you're never in those meetings, but you kind of want to know what's being said about you. Would you or any of the other players? Would you guys ever get together to watch?
Well, they had a screening for us. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we'd go in an auditorium and get to watch it for the first time, kind of right before it was about to be released, kind of thing. So yeah, we'd all go watch it. Like, they'd do that on a night off or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Your last year with the Chiefs, man, that was just a rough way to go out. Brody started the season that year, but he got hurt. You came in, and then your former teammate on the other side, Tom Brady, he suffers that torn ACL injury. So it's you and Matt Castle, which obviously has more significance now because Matt ended up coming to Kansas City.
Mhm.
And Brody came back. You guys both got hurt again in the same game, that Tennessee game. And Tyler did well. Tyler Thickman, that is.
You're talking '08 now, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait. And,
Yeah.
even though the offense kind of got going, it was just so rough to watch with all those blown leads in the second half. And that, of course, led to the exit of Herm Edwards and Carl Peterson. I think that was your last year. A lot of people ended up leaving after that season. How tough was that final year with the Chiefs?
Well, let's just go back to '07 a little bit because, in all honesty, we got off to a decent start. I think we were like
Yeah.
4-3, and then, after the bye or something, we played the Packers and,
Yep.
we lost a pretty tough game at home and to Brett Favre. And I think I threw a bad pick. And it was after that game, I think we were sitting at, were we 5-4? I don't know, something like that. And
You
they
guys
were
were leading the division at the time.
maybe we're 4-4, 4-5, something 4-4. I think we're 4-4 after that
Yeah.
loss. And Herm decided to go with Brody for the rest of the year. And I kind of thought, it's probably the end of my, time with the Chiefs. And we did not win another regular season game that year. I think did we not finish 4-12?
4-12 with a 9-game losing streak. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were 4-3 at one time when I was playing. So again, I'm not trying to, but it was like, okay, go with the young guy. Week 17 against the Lions, Brody got hurt. I got to come in and play, threw for over 300 yards in 2 quarters or so, 2.5 quarters. And I think that performance, was the reason they kept me around going into 08. And that's really, I'm not telling you to say, hey, Damon was great. But I think Carl was like, oh, you know what? Damon still had some value. Let's just keep him around here. We got him under a good deal. But 08 was really, really hard for me. And I'll tell you why. When I was fired from the Miami Dolphins after the 2000 season, I was fired because I didn't fit a mold of a quarterback that Chan Gailey, who was brought in to run that offense. So Miami, I had a good little run, 99, 2000. I lost a starting quarterback job. It was because of Chan Gailey. Chan was famous initially for Slash, Cordell Stewart. He wanted an athlete playing quarterback, and I get it. That wasn't me. So between Jay Fiedler and the guy they hired after they fired me, Ray Lucas, they got more of that athlete kind of player. Well, fast forward 8 years, I'm with the Chiefs. I had a good run in 06, as you alluded to. 07 wasn't the greatest season, but when I played, we won a few games.
Yeah.
08 rolls around, and Herm hires the guy that fired me in Miami, Chan Gailey. And I'm not lying. I'm giving you good TV, radio stuff. I don't think I slept that offseason. I'm like, really? I know Chan doesn't like me. I know I don't fit his mold. You hire Chan Gailey? I got a good little thing going here in Kansas City. Chan comes in, and honest to God, that spring, I think it was Brody. Brody would be the guy, young guy, good player, talent.
Yeah.
And they signed another young kid, I think David Green. And Chan, right before OTAs and everything, Damon, you're not going to get any reps. We know what you can do. You don't get any reps. We want to get these young guys to work. And I'm like, but Chan, you're installing a new offense. Yeah, you're right. I'm the veteran dude. I'll take the mental reps. I've been there, done that. But it's like, okay. So when Chan Gailey was hired by the Chiefs, the guy who never liked me and fired me 8 years earlier, I really knew it was the beginning of the end. But other than that, my time as a Chief, people ask me, Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino, 2 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots, holding the clipboard. My 5 years in Kansas City, man, that was my favorite time ever as a pro football player, really any level of football, because my college career was a little up and down. But just that Chiefs community, the family, and I won a few games, right? I got to play at the end of my career, which was great. Yeah. Because my legacy would have been being Peyton Manning's backup in New England in practice. Not Peyton Manning, but playing Peyton Manning in practice as scout team quarterback was kind of my legacy until my Chiefs run. So, everybody has these stories at the end of their career. A coach didn't like me, so I got hurt. So I'm not trying to be that guy. But I just want to say, man, I love my time in Kansas City. Love my Chiefs. Has so many friends from that time. We almost stayed there. We were that close to staying there. There were 5 years. But really a wonderful experience in that Chiefs organization for the Hunt family. Won a few games. Dick Vermeil, Herm, the buddies, Trent Green, a friend for life, Todd Collins, Tony Gonzalez. I mean, you're kidding me. So amazing time. But I had to give you kind of how it ended.
No, and I that's why I like to having players on. So I do appreciate that information there. And that's weird to hear, because people felt bad for Chan Gailey, because when Todd Haley was the head coach the year after, he got fired in the preseason, but was still on the team. And then I think a year or two later, he got hired as the Buffalo Bills head coach, and Buffalo just destroyed the Chiefs. Yeah, I don't think Todd wanted to even shake his hand. So that was.
Well, Chan Gailey's a great coach. I just wasn't his style of a quarterback, Yeah. And so that's really where I was kind of going with that.
You mentioned River Falls. So I never had a chance to go to River Falls. I've been to St. Joe a couple of times when they've had it about an hour north of Kansas City. What was River Falls like for someone who's never been there?
I actually really loved it. After the first year, you're kind of hey, in this dorm room. I don't know. It was just something about, obviously it was about 10 degrees cooler, maybe 15 than an August Kansas City day. You just kind of got away from everything. it was a cute little college town, and on your day off, you'd ride your bike into town and go get Steve's Pizza or this cute little breakfast cafe, and yeah, it worked. The beds were rough in an old dorm room. We didn't have like our own bathroom, so I can remember like getting in trouble like most of the guys for you drink so much, you're sweating, two-a-days back then, all this stuff, and in the middle of the night you had to pee, and God, I didn't want to walk all the way down the hall to that bathroom we all shared, so the Gatorade bottles would be filled up, and we'd be scolded by our coaches and trainers and not to do that again. But it just that was one little thing we had to do to relieve ourselves.
I'll
Yeah,
never
so many great memories.
I'll never forget Brian Waters did an interview on TV the first year it was in St. Joe, and he made a comment. He goes, "I've already counted 3 McDonald's in this town." It's like, oh, I guess that definitely tells you the difference between those two cities. Where did you, when you guys flew to, well, not flew directly to River Falls, but what city did you guys fly to?
Minneapolis. Minneapolis is about
Okay.
45 minutes drive is all. Just
Gotcha.
I think we were kind of due east of Minneapolis, somewhere there.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. A couple more questions before we let you go, Damon. I do appreciate your time here. I got to ask you about Trent McDuffie. You watched him very closely in Washington. We love him here in Kansas City, and I know he didn't have a lot of flashy stats in college. He's yet to get an interception in his NFL career, and he just made first team All-Pro. I think he led all defensive backs in forced fumbles that last year, and of course, everyone remembers the one against Tyreek Hill in Germany. I'm curious, as someone who followed him very closely in Washington and now seeing him with the Chiefs, what do you make of what he's doing in the NFL so far?
Oh, he's just a total stud. I mean, he was here too. Maybe wasn't fortunate enough to play on some of the better Husky football teams, where you get the attention like we did last year with the run to the national championship game and all that good stuff. But Trent, like from day one, this dude just came in here, was just a competitor, and physical too. Like, the really good corners are the ones that aren't afraid to come up and make a tackle, and he would do that. And you're right. I mean, people don't want to throw his way. I mean, he's become, really a lockdown corner at the next level. And it does not surprise me at all. His work ethic, he was just a great kid, a great Husky. And I'm so happy for him and all the success that he's having as a pro.
Another guy on this Chiefs defense that I don't know how big of a connection you guys had, but when you were in Frankfurt for NFL Europe, your defensive coordinator was Steve Spagnuolo, who's the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes has talked many times what it's like going up against Spags' defense in practice. What was it like going up against Spags' defense in practice back then? And did you guys ever have a chance to connect, the two of you in Frankfurt?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're kind of over there. A lot of people don't speak English, so the ones you're around that do, you're hanging out with.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Spags, he was awesome. And he was a young guy then. I can't do the math, but I don't remember him being too much older than me. Probably, maybe just 5-6 years or so. But yeah, he was talented. Our defense was great, and what an amazing career he's had. Over time in the league, I'd bump across him wherever he was coaching or I was playing, and give him a hug after games. But yeah, I'm so happy for him and all the success that he's had in his career. Was a head coach of the Giants. And, I mean, he's done it all, and now has certainly found his calling as one of the best defensive coordinators of all time with what he's doing there in Kansas City.
Yeah, we're really glad he's there. It was a little weird in the beginning, but man, that defense has grown and really was a big part of last year's success. I do want to go back to this Hard Knocks picture because that's your son right there who's giving you a hug. And his name's Sam, correct?
Correct.
So he is playing football in Utah. He was in Washington for a little bit.
Yep.
I believe he's a junior. What's a scouting report on him?
Well, his college career has been a little bit up and down. Came to the University of Washington with a lot of fanfare and hype of the local kids staying home, this, that, and the other, and was a part of a couple. One really bad team his freshman year. He didn't play much. Year 2, Kalen DeBoer came here and really took us to great heights, but brought his quarterback with him, and that's kind of what happens in college football now. Brought Michael Penix, who he coached at Indiana, to town, and I guess the rest was history there. As Mike became a first-round draft pick and led us to heights that we haven't been to in a long, long time. But when Mike decided to come back for his 6th year, Sam wanted to play. It was his 3rd year. And so he transferred to Cal Poly last year where, he got to play a lot of football, and the team wasn't great, but he put up some big numbers and had a bunch of fun, and then decided to kind of, I want to get back up to the highest level of college football and put his name in the hat again. I mean, this all sounds crazy and a lot of people don't understand, but this is college football today, and especially at the quarterback position. And especially if you're at a big time program and you don't play early on, believe me, when you think it's your turn to play, someone's coming in that has played, or a coach. Like it's just how it works. So go down to Cal Poly, play, get some good tape, go back up. And now he's at a program at Utah with a lot of stability. Kyle Whittingham's been there 30 years, 20 as the head coach. They're a top 10 program. They do have a 7th year returning quarterback in Cam Rising. Was a great player, was hurt all of last year. But I think they brought Sam in as a guy who's played a little college football now, a little bit older, as an insurance policy, can play. And hopefully Sam can set himself up to maybe compete, be that guy his 5th and final year at Utah. No guarantees in any and all of this, but what an awesome journey it's been for him. Has met a lot of people, has played for a lot of great coaches. And, his story's still yet to be finally told, but he's plugging away like many of these quarterbacks are in college football today, just, hoping to get an opportunity at a big time program.
Cool. Okay. We'll definitely be following along this year. So hopefully he'll get his opportunity. I know you mentioned you have done a lot of different things with Washington. You were part of their radio broadcast team, weren't you?
Yeah, I did that for over a decade. And then when Sam, my son, got there, I thought, it probably doesn't make sense to be on the radio if my kid's out there playing, and just kind of get out of the way of his experience. So no longer I'm doing the radio for the Dogs, but had a blast doing that. Over 10 years doing that. A bunch of fun. Called some great games, Rose Bowls, and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah.
Washington was in the national championship game. You mentioned that earlier. What are your thoughts with the team this upcoming season? What do you think they can do?
Yeah, we hired a coach, Kalen DeBoer, off to Alabama, and Jed Fish has come in here and really, he thought would be one of our darkest times in Husky football. I mean, we lost, we returned 2 starters from last year's team. I think we have 38 new players. I mean, it's insane, the roster turnover. So it's a completely new roster, but Jed has come in here and just created this incredible buzz. Maybe you saw Bill Belichick on the Pat McAfee show, as you alluded to earlier, where, Bill just spent a week up here, working training camp for Husky football with his son, Steve, as our defensive coordinator. Our offensive coordinator is Brennan Carroll, Pete Carroll's son. We have Jack Del Rio's son on the staff, Luke Del Rio. We have John Lynch's son as a GA assistant coach. So, he's brought in a lot of awesome names and it's really created this buzz around the program. And he's just kicking ass in recruiting. I think we're like up to 16th in the country with the 2025 class. We don't obviously have the same talent and experience. We had 9 6-year seniors last year on our run to the national championship game. So this thing is a total rebuild. Will Rogers is our quarterback coming in from Mississippi State. He's a nice little quarterback, can make all the intermediate throws. But it's a new roster, offensive line, defensive line, big question marks. And now it's our first year transition to the Big Ten. And so we play at Penn State for a whiteout game, at Iowa. We have Michigan at home, Oregon now in the Big Ten. We go to Oregon. We have USC at home. All great games fans want to see. But realistically, to think that we're going to go 14-1 like we did a year ago, not going to happen. But I think Jed can get us to 8-9 wins. It'd be an incredible season in his first year here. He's done an amazing job out the gate.
By the way, you said Big Ten. As someone who played in Washington, what do you make of this whole Pac-12 thing and what's happening to it?
It's a shame. It's a shame that the Pac-12 is no longer. It really is. I mean, a conference that's over 100 years old. Like, how does this happen? But it did. And again, it's college football 2024. I am so thankful that we do have a seat at the table, that we are a part of the 2 biggest conferences in all of college football. the SEC and the Big Ten. And as this thing continues to evolve, we will be a player. We will be a part of whatever this thing becomes. We are taking a half share with this Big Ten contract, meaning, all the other schools, us in Oregon are the only ones with a half share, meaning we're going to get about $30-35 million, and the other schools are getting close to 70 with the TV contract. So that hurts us for the next 5 years, but then we are in and we will get the full share. So, we're playing, a little bit from behind with that, but, we got a lot of great support here, a lot of great donor support. We got the history, the tradition, Husky Stadium, the greatest setting in all of college football. So we'll be okay. We will be okay long term. I really feel for a lot of other programs, and we got Cal and Stanford playing the ACC. Like, what are we doing? Oregon State, Washington State don't even have a conference. They're the Pac-2. So it's tough. And, I'd like to say I know exactly where it's all going. I don't, but I do know that the Huskies will have a seat at the table.
As a KU guy, and of course them being in the Big 12, it is so weird because 14 years ago there were some serious concerns that the Big 12 might fold, and now they have a school in all 4 time zones in the continental United States, which is just weird to even think about.
Yeah, I mean, but you could sit here and make the argument that it's the best basketball conference in all of college, collegiate athletics at the basketball level. So, but yeah, I mean, it's KU football. I know they invested a lot of money into these facilities, and got a good coach now, and really had an awesome year last year, and have some pretty good expectations this season. So, who knows where this is all going? I don't, but I do know you do have one of the best top 5 basketball programs in America.
Yes, we certainly love our basketball in Lawrence. Last question. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl this year? You got a prediction for that yet?
Gosh. Well, look, come on. What am I supposed to say? Are you kidding me? I'm on a Chiefs show.
To say what's your opinion?
Well, my opinion is I really don't know, if I'm being honest. I watch more college football than pro football these days. Again, I'm being honest. But like I said earlier in this broadcast, if anybody's going to three-peat, it's going to be your head coach and your quarterback. And they just find a way. And like we saw last year, they know how to take it to a different level come playoff time. And you get that home field advantage at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm sorry. No one's coming in there beating the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. So just do your thing in the regular season this year. Make sure you have those home games. And I think the three-peat is there within reach. Go Chiefs.
All right. We're certainly excited for it. Hey, Damon, one last time before you go, passingtime.com. That's your winery, and you and Dan Marino teaming up. His wife, your wife, a big part of this. Anything else you want to say about the winery before we let you go?
Yeah, sure. We're, like I said, we're kind of a small boutique winery, but we've been at it for over a decade. We prioritize in Cabernet. We make 3 cabs from the 3 appellations that we think do it best in Washington: Walla Walla, Red Mountain, and the Horse Heaven Hills. We think, like I said earlier, we get the big scores, price to score ratio. It's some of the best value in the world. I would love for you to consider joining our wine club. We have about 1,500 members. It's not one of these clubs that sends you wine every year and Sangiovases or things you don't want to drink. Literally, it's 3 a year, and you choose between those Cabernets. And you also get invited to come up to our killer events. We do 4 big events up here every year. Dan and Claire come to town for our big spring release weekend. So it'd be a great excuse to come visit the Great Northwest, check out our winery, come pick up your club wines. Or like I said earlier, we can ship to Missouri, Kansas as well. So consider joining our 3-bottle club, be a member of the Passing Time Wine Club, and maybe we get to share a glass down the road together. And the other thing is, I go to Miami. I do some things around the country. Anybody out there watching this, you want to do something really cool as far as a big winemaker dinner or something you think that might make sense for Passing Time or your business, we can come down to Kansas City and do some fun stuff with our wines. So that might be a consideration as well. So would love to get Passing Time more indoctrinated down there in Kansas and Missouri. It'd be a lot of fun again to share a glass with the Chiefs Nation. So passingtime.com. Check us out.
Perfect. Passingtime.com. Hey, Damon, like I said at the beginning, this is so cool because 2007 is when I started this podcast and you were the first starting quarterback that year. So to have you on, it's a full circle moment for me. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck to the Huskies this year.
Thanks, Farzine. I appreciate it. Great having me on, and have a great season this year. Go Chiefs.
All right. Appreciate you, Damon. Take care. All right, that was Damon Huard, former Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, joining us here on the Chiefs Zone podcast. A lot of great stuff here, and definitely appreciate Damon's time. Hey, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about the last preseason game coming up between the Chiefs and the Bears. What do we expect? We know the starters are not playing. We'll talk about all of that and much more. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care.